Most people fear Lucifer, the fallen one, the morning star cast from grace, as if he were the pinnacle of terror. But what if I told you that far older, far stranger forces exist? Entities that make his defiance seem like a flicker against a cosmic storm. Picture a being not exiled from light, but born from thunder. A presence not corrupted by sin, but shaped in the very fire of creation. A creature whose existence fractures logic, not in rebellion, but as a function of its divine architecture. Lucifer's tale is well known, the bright one who dared to rise. But buried in the margins of forgotten scriptures, scattered across the Book of Enoch, hidden within the Dead Sea Scrolls, and whispered through the ancient echoes of the Ethiopian Bible, are names unspoken for centuries. Names that unravel the very fabric of comfort. This is not the story of a devil. It is the story of something far more unsettling. We speak now of the watchers, the judges, the burning wheels, and the faces that twist with unknowable purpose. These are not villains. They are not tempters. They are something colder, something untouched by human morality. Their existence does not question. It enforces. And when they move, they do so with the weight of cosmic command, not malice, but mandate. In this journey, we descend not into legend, but into the sacred dread that religion tried to lock away. We'll walk beside angels that do not console, but burn. Beings whose presence unravels armies, ones whose faces no prophet could dare describe. We'll encounter those who never fell, yet radiate such overwhelming dread that even Lucifer seems merely misunderstood. So brace yourself. This is not folklore, this is scripture sealed in time, words buried under layers of silence and awe. It is the terror that comes not from darkness, but from a light so intense it blinds. These are the ones you were never meant to imagine. These are the angels, scarier than Lucifer. For generations, certain scriptures were not just ignored, they were exiled, hidden, buried, dismissed as too dangerous or too divine. And perhaps that silence was intentional. These writings do not speak of heaven as a refuge of serenity. They describe a realm of ferocious order, where fire and thunder crown a throne not of comfort, but of raw authority. There, celestial beings exist, not to soothe but to enforce. Creatures forged for purpose, not peace. Among them are the Watchers, also known as the Grigori. Originally assigned to guide humanity, they abandoned their mission for forbidden passions. They desired mortal women. They passed on forbidden arts, the knowledge of war, the secrets of sorcery, the veins of alchemy. This betrayal shattered the boundary between heaven and earth, inviting judgment upon creation. But it wasn't Lucifer who cast them down. It was something far more severe. One passage speaks of a being called Uriel, faceless, clothed in blinding brilliance, descending not with grace, but with a decree of destruction. Following him Uriel, whose name echoes with divine thunder. A voice said to split mountains and silence multitudes. And then there is Metatron, not born of fire or storm, but once a man. Enoch, elevated beyond flesh, transformed into something no longer mortal, no longer angel, but a vessel of the sacred archive. In ancient accounts, he is said to stand as tall as the cosmos itself, draped in a tapestry of 365,000 eyes, watching, recording, judging. These are not traitors, they never fell, and yet their loyalty carries a weight more terrifying than rebellion. Now imagine the divine throne, not a golden seat among clouds, but a vortex of brilliance and endless roar. Around it revolve entities beyond form. The Ophanim, wheels of fire, layered with unblinking eyes, turning across realms unseen. No limbs, no faces, pure sentient motion. They do not speak. They resonate, carriers of unyielding law. Then emerge the Cherubim, not the tender icons of art, but radiant sentinels, 4 faces, thunderous wings, bodies wreathed in flame. They do not shield humanity, they block the path. Their role is not to welcome but to guard the sacred from what should never return. When Adam and Eve were exiled from Eden, a blazing sentinel stood at the threshold, not to punish, but to shield the sacred from corruption. A cherub engulfed in fire, sword raised, not in rage, but in defense of the divine realm. These angels were never ours. They do not serve human yearning. They serve only the will, a will beyond mercy, beyond rebellion. Far above them, in the most veiled passages of mystical writings, particularly within the Zohar, the crown jewel of Kabbalistic vision, whispers speak of beings stranger still, the Chayot HaKodesh, holy living entities, so pure, so otherworldly, that they defy permanence. Forever shifting, ablaze yet never consumed, singing without breath, without end. They carry not messages, but the very throne of eternity. They are not messengers or warriors. They are the divine principle made motion. Reality warps around their presence. They do not rise, they do not fall. They simply are, the roaring truth of creation given shape. And yet, even in this celestial hierarchy, there are those who act, those who bring judgment, not counsel. Among them stands Abaddon, the destroyer. He is not a demon, but an angel, an executor of divine collapse. His name means the place where things end. In Revelation, he leads locusts from the abyss, not as a rebellion, but as a mission. When the seal breaks, Abaddon emerges, not as chaos, but as divine will unleashed, and behind him, ruin. Then comes Uriel, flame and vision, not the soft courier of peace, but the fire that sees. In the ancient Ethiopian tradition, he is the prophet of catastrophe, the sentinel before the deluge, the hand that bound the fallen watchers beneath the earth. His gaze is described as rivers of fire. His presence scorches illusion into truth. Uriel does not whisper, he purges. These angels do not seduce, they do not twist. They are incapable of deceit. Their terror lies in their absolute obedience. Where Lucifer defied, they complied, without hesitation, without emotion. To speak of angels more terrifying than the devil is not to invent mythology, but to uncover truths too overwhelming for the common script. These are no symbols of comfort. They are the divine scaffolding itself, beings of precision, made not with feeling, but with purpose. Their purpose was never to strike humanity down, but to preserve the sacred, the untouchable realms man was never meant to reclaim. Their flaming sword is not revenge. It is a barrier made of mercy. Fearsome, yes, but essential. Within this divine paradox stand two radiant forces, Abaddon and Uriel, twin edges of the same celestial blade. Abaddon is not an enemy. He is judgment embodied. The destroyer, yes, but not by choice. He moves when divine restraint reaches its limit. He is the breaking point. And then, when prophecy ignites, Uriel rises, the flame of heaven, not as a comforter, but as a reckoning. Found throughout apocryphal scriptures, Uriel is portrayed as one who sees the entire river of time from origin to collapse and intervenes only when the arc of mankind bends too far into darkness. He is both seer and purifier. In these hidden figures lies a disturbing revelation. The most unsettling forces in all creation may not be those who rebelled. They are the ones who never questioned, never strayed. And perhaps that's why they haunt us, because in their pure, unflinching loyalty to divine justice, there is no plea, no negotiation, only consequence. Lucifer, yes, he is the fallen star, the infamous defier, but his dread flows from betrayal, from ambition. The beings we've unveiled today, however, strike fear from a deeper source, absolute obedience. They are not tempted, they are not conflicted, they are precision given wings. They are the blades of judgment, the recorders of time, the living mechanisms of creation's architecture. They do not act because they desire to, they act because they were made to. And it is precisely because they never fell that they rise above, distant, radiant, incorruptible. Lucifer aspired to become like God. These beings never had to. They already bear his fury, his unknowable mind, his immortal design. From the Ophanim that blaze through dimensions, to the cherubim of four faces, to Abaddon, commander of the abyss, and Uriel, the fire that sears falsehood. These are not myths. They are the foundation of terror in its holiest form. So the next time you hear angel, forget feathers and songs. Think thunder cracking the stars, eyes that never close, blades forged of law, presence that does not ask, only decrees. For the greatest horror may not be evil unleashed, but holiness that refuses to yield.